Yeah, nah, I don't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh sucks now. Like, it was just negates. Like, he had, like, I think called Herald, he had Savage, whatever that is, like negate something. He had Ash Blossom, because that's a fair card now. Like, everything I did, he just negated. Like, it wasn't fair, no. What do you mean you have the perfect deck for me? Oh. Hi guys, Fishka here with another deck profile for you today. Today we've got Gren Maju. So the last two times I played this deck, I actually did really well at events. So I got 11th place at a regional once, and I bubbled YCS London playing this deck. Very similar build to this. This was in last format though, mainly Orcust and Lunalight Orcust format. Obviously the format has changed, but this deck still works because big numbers are still big numbers. So I'm going to go straight into the deck profile, guys. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to talk through this deck. I play this deck quite a lot online. Yes, we are going into Numeron Zexal Utopic format, so what better time to play a blind second deck? 3 Gren Maju is obviously your first choice. This is not the only win con of the deck. I would like to point this out. This is a blind second beatdown deck, and for those who don't know, Gren Maju is a very, very simple effect. It gains 400 attack for every one of your remove from play cards or your banished cards, effectively. Some people today are now playing the stun build of Gren Maju again. I don't blame them for that, because it does work, but that's more because of the stun parts work. It doesn't really use Gren Maju to win. It's too slow, it's too grindy, and it's lost relevance in the metagame. I personally prefer the rank 8 turbo build, which is one I'm going to profile for you today, just because it has other options and it works quickly. The whole point of Gren Maju is you want to end the game as quickly as possible, because you do not have the ability to beat the meta decks in a grind game. Even stun, which has not got some bricks in it like the Gren Maju, still struggles to play against the meta game. No other deck can play it this quick and put up big numbers this fast, and you sort of just have to overwhelm your opponent as quick as possible. The only thing of Gren Maju, those guys, if it does get hit with an effect Veil or Imperm, obviously it is a 0/0 normal monster as such, so I always try and keep this until my last thing if I can do, so they maybe Imperm or Veiler my links or something like this that's going to disrupt their play. This is just there for a big number to punch them in the face. Moving on to boost up our Gren Maju, 3 Eater Millions, really simple. You just summon it by banishing monsters from your extra deck at least 5. You can banish more. I highly suggest just banishing 5 there, otherwise you lose a lot of your utility. However, if you're happy they've got no responses, they've got like a clear board, or they've run out of response, they've got nothing in hand, banish 15, normal summon Gren Maju. This is now 6k. It feels nice. Other effects are very simple. You can banish an opponent's monster face down if it battles, which is very nice because obviously it boosts up the Eater of Millions and his removal, and it gains 100 attack per every face down banished card, which includes the ones it banishes. So it's like a mini Gren Maju, however it's not so big. It is kind of nice though to see these two in your opening hand together. Next, moving on to also help out the Gren Maju, we've got 3 Gimmick Orochi, the Serpentine Slasher. So this one is basically a god blessing to anyone who plays Gren Maju. It is level 8, which is important. It is dark, which is important. It is a machine, not that important, but there's also some play in Orcust because of it. But you can summon it from your hand or graveyard by banishing 8 cards from the top of your deck. Just like Pot of Desires, just banishes 8 full cost as well. While it's on board, you can banish the next turn. No, you can't use both effects at once. While it's on board, you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck, target a card on the field, destroy it. A face-up monster has to be a face-up monster, can't pop back row. So this is really great. You can drop this in your opponent's end phase, going second. So you just drop this first turn, banish 8 for cost, that's the key thing. And in their turn, you can start popping cards. If it's in your graveyard, you can just summon it back. You can use it as XYZ material, detach it, summon it back. Loads of things you can do, and it boosts up your Gren Maju, which is obviously what we want in this deck. Now, the key thing is, guys, it's level 8. The whole point of this build of Gren Maju is to be rank 8 turbo, because there's some really useful rank 8s that we can use. So to help out with that, we're playing 3 Danger Bigfoot, 2 Danger Thunderbird, and finally 2 Danger Ogopogo. The key ones this are the Bigfoot and the Thunderbird. The Ogopogo is there simply to be an extra name. You can just use this as an upstart effectively, but the key thing is it is level 8. Bigfoot, really simple. It's a 3k beta, which is perfect for going second. This plus the beefed up Gren Maju can sometimes be game. This plus the Gizmek plus the 2 millions can sometimes be game. You're just basically trying to put big numbers on the board and punch your opponent in the face. The key thing and really fun thing about dangers is no one's going to negate them in hand unless it ruins their board. No one's really going to negate a danger in hand because it's a waste of a negation as such. You would rather negate the effect in grave, and if it summons then it's too late. Bigfoot, if it's discarded, pops a face-up card. Thunderbird, if it's discarded, pops a set card. Ogopogo can send either one of these to the grave. Not that you ever really want to, because there's no point. Other than that, they're just level 8 upstart goblins pretty much. But this lets you draw through your deck incredibly quickly. And again, makes key rank 8s. Another key thing, guys, about the dangers, obviously, is that with Gizmek, if you discard the Gizmek to summon a danger, it doesn't matter, because then you can summon the Gizmek back from the graveyard, and then you can make a rank 8 from there. So these cards work very well together. Again, they're all dark, which is quite nice. Next engine, 2 Hextrude and 2 Glyph. This is the Golden Castle Stromberg engine. Very simply, this, you can discard it to search the Stromberg. This also works if you discard it and it gets banished. It's a key thing. It doesn't say discard to grave, it just says discard in general. Forgot to say, guys, the dangers also trigger if they are banished from your hand, so they don't actually have to hit grave to trigger their effects, which is quite nice. If it's on board and they get special summoned or normal summoned, you can target one spell trap and if you destroy it. Basically, this is your out, so there can only be one, because you can summon it and pop a card. The only time there can only be one comes up if you have certain links on board and you want a normal summon Gren Maju. So it does kind of clash with your normal summon, but it's just basically nice spot removal, MST. Hextrude, really, really nice card. There's a lot of people who don't know what the Stromberg cards do because they're sort of anime cards, and then they came out in one set, so I don't really blame you. While it's on board, you can target a card on the board, destroy it. It's no cost, nothing, just pop a card. It's kind of like Gizmek, but better. It can pop spells and traps, it can pop monsters, it can pop face down cards, it can pop anything. It's also level 8, and it's dark. It fits our theme, it's perfect. You can summon this from the deck with Stromberg, same as the Glyph, or you can normal summon it if you have Stromberg on the board without tributing. So this card actually has 2 other effects that I don't ever really use, just because it's there to pop a card and then go into rank 8. However, it is a nice 2/6 beta, and if it does pop a card on the field, it can attack twice on monsters. So it's basically a Boral Sword that can attack twice on monsters, clear the field, and let the Gren Maju punch them in the face a bit more, just get a bit more damage in it. If it destroys a monster by battle, target one monster you control, it gains 400 attack. It's free. You pop a card, you attack twice, and you gain 400 attack. What more do you want? It can be a brick in your hand, but we have ways of getting rid of it, because in this deck, we don't have any bricks, because we have dangers. You can just discard this of a Bigfoot, summon a Bigfoot, and draw another card, so it doesn't really suck to open these cards. Finally, guys, we are blinding second, and we do need to main some hand traps. So we've got 3 Shifter. It's dark level 6, sorry. This is the most broken hand trap that's ever existed, but not a lot of decks can afford to run it. When I play this deck at the regionals in Orcust format, this is just an auto win against anything like Orcust. Salamangrate, this still absolutely just steamrolls them. Nowadays, against Eldritch, it's actually kind of nice because you just basically skip one of their turns where they can recur their resources, because it does affect this turn and the next turn. So normally I'll just drop this instantly in a standby phase or something like that. Or if I know they're playing something important like Eldritch, I'll drop it in my turn, knowing that anything they do banish, like their trap cards, won't recur them resources for the next 2 turns, which is very nice. Against the Synchro build, it does really work as well, because obviously it gets rid of the Jet Synchron, it gets rid of the O-line. There's a lot of things that this really just basically stops dead. Moving into the Numeron Zexal build, though, it doesn't really stop a lot. It does stop the field spell from sending the spell card to graveyard for cost, because it specifies send to grave. So if you drop this on the spell card's initial activation, the field spell, they can't send the cost. They can't actually summon the XZs. So that's just, again, really nice stop to their play. To also help us out, this is something new that I've put in, 3 Winter Cherries. I posted this in the Gren Maju Facebook group about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, saying that this card is good with my deck profile, just because it's still really nice hand trap. This is probably one of my favourite hand traps. The other one going to Ghost Sister. Don't know why that took me so long. The water one that gains you life points, even that's not very good. Yeah, pretty much you just discard this card, reveal a card in your extra deck. If your opponent has any of them, they banish them all, and then you get to look at your opponent's extra deck. That's a key thing. Only stipulation, you have to have more monsters than you. We're going second. That works. Key thing as well, this does trigger if you discard it to banished again, so Shifter doesn't conflict with it. Whereas Shifter conflicts with Ash Blossom, not Ash Blossom, Ogre, so you maybe don't want to play Ogre while you're playing Shifter. And again, it's dark, which is again really important. The nice thing about this as well, that it is a tuner that you can normal summon. So there's actually a route you can do with Needle Fiber where you just go straight into a Boral Sword, because it's effectively, if you have like Eater Millions with Gizmek, because remember you do Gizmek in the end phase of their turn, normal summon this, turn the Gizmek and this into Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber summon another one of these from your deck. You've now got 3 monsters on board. You can make a Trispania. If you have a danger, you can make Borosword, and then you can summon back the gimmick as well to make the Borosword that way. So it's basically a really free and easy Borosword, just using a normal summon and another extender. Spell cards. 3 Golden Castle of Stromberg. If you're playing against this deck, read this card. If you want to read some, have some funny stories, check out my YCS video. A lot of people did not read this card at all. It has a wall of text, I will admit. Really simply, you can summon a monster that specifies its name from its card text from your deck for free, but it does include your normal summon for that turn. So you summon a Glyph or a Hextrude basically from your deck. In your standby phase, you mandatory have to banish 10 cards, otherwise this card gets destroyed. That kind of feels like Gren Maju, but if that's happening, it's kind of too late basically, because you do run out of resources very quickly with the Pot of Desires, this, and a gimmick. Also, if your opponent attacks you while it's on the board, destroy their opponent's monster and burn them for half that monster's attack. So it's Magic Cylinder, Pot of Desires without any draw, and Unexpected Die for certain monsters of this archetype, but includes your normal summon. It's really nice. Glyph and searches from your deck, so sometimes in game 2 or game 3 I'll just like maybe take one out, just be an option, because you don't really want to ever see multiple of these. But yeah, really nice card, defensive card, and it just gets you your level 8s from deck for free. Draw power, 3 Pot of Desires, might as well just say draw 2, give Gren Maju 4,000 attack. Even if it gets negated, it's just a really nice card because it just boosts your Gren Maju by 4k, which is a really big number. To go alongside that, we've got the Allure. The nice thing with Allure is that you can get rid of things that are dead, so like the Shifter, which is probably, well, it is dead past turn 1, and the Winter Cherries past turn 1. So obviously this needs no cards in grave, and this is only good on their opening turn because they need to control monsters, more monsters than you do. So Law, you can just get rid of any of these that you don't want to. You can get rid of the Hextrudes that you draw that are bricks. You can get rid of maybe the Danger, each 1 million. Sometimes I just banish like a Danger if I open like 3 Dangers. But mainly your Allure targets are these past turn 1. But again, more draw power. Even more draw power. 2 Trading. We're playing a many level 8s. I don't actually know how many we are now playing, but this is really nice because you can trade in a Gizmek and then summon it from the grave, so it's almost no cost. You can trade in a Bigfoot, which will trigger its effect to pop a face-up card. Same with Thunderbird, pop a face-down card. You can trade in a Hextrude, again, that is dead in your hand. This deck goes through its deck incredibly quickly because you've got all these draw cards, and then you've got the Dangers, which are drawing your cards. You've got the Gizmek, which is banishing 8, deck thin. There's a lot of things that just keep going with this deck. You do run out of resources really quickly, but you are most likely going to hit the things you need. With the Desires and the Gizmek, you might banish all your Gren Majus, but again, that is not the problem. We do not worry about that because we have other win conditions, either just like linking, Borosword, beatdown with big numbers, or like XYZs. There's a lot of things that this deck can do. Finally, 3 Imperm. We are now playing 9 hand traps in the main deck just because we are moving into Numeron. Zexal format, and this is just really nice. This can also hit things like VFD, maybe a Winder. If someone's playing Shaddoll, it can hit certain combo pieces in that build. Maybe hit Needle Fiber on a choke point on Eldritch. It's really nice, basically, really good card that you can use in your turn as well. That is the main deck, guys. Going to move on to the extra deck now. 1 Top Logic Zoroboros. This is basically Gren Maju in a link. It gains 200 attack for every banished card, which is really nice because it does get kind of big very quickly. If a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, banish all cards on the field, including itself. So this is actually a really nice turn 1 play if we need to, or we can just trigger it in late game with a Gizmek coming back, etc, etc. This has now got the update with the OCG ruling that if it does get banished by its own effect, it comes back in the next standby phase. Previously it was just your standby phase, so kind of like missed out a turn. But now it just keeps coming back. Really nice way of controlling the board. Your opponent can't really use the extra monster zones if you put it in your center zone when it comes back. Really nice. We can't really go wrong with this. 1 Appaloosa. This is maybe a turn 1 play, or if I fear they've got Nibiru, they've sided it in, I actually might make this over Zoroboros and the next link that you're going to see, just because I don't really want to get nibbed, because again we need to win quick and fast, otherwise we just get steamrolled and outgrinded. But yeah, this and like a 7k Gren Maju or an 8k Gren Maju punching, because this will probably be either 2-4 or 3-2. Can you still sometimes just be game, so just be aware of Nibirus. 1 Borosword, going the old-fashioned route. We could play Access Code Talker, but I actually prefer the Borosword because I have a Borosword. I don't own an access code, therefore I prefer this. But yeah, just put 4 monsters on the board and then just beat your opponent in the face. Really nice card. There was a funny moment back at one of the regionals that came 11th at when I had this, the Gren Maju. My opponent electric virused my Boral Sword, stole it, punched into my Gren Maju, gained the attack, and punched again for game. I'd never seen that happen. I'll never see it happen again. But yeah, make sure you're watching out for electric virus with this card, guys. That does hurt. Like I said, there is a Needle Fiber route with this. One Trisbania to just blow out some back row decks. Again, you can trigger with things like Gizmek in their turn just to basically blow out their cards. Really nice. One Nightmare Phoenix, one Nightmare Cerberus, just to basically be some spot removal. Sometimes you can do things like you can make the Appaloosa and then a Nightmare Phoenix, which is kind of nice. Or again with the Boral Sword. Otherwise, they're just basically spot removal. Needle Fiber. Basically, just normal summon the Winter Cherries and then go off from there. It can also be a Cherries target. So if they put the Link Rubo plus a Jetstream on board, discard that Cherries, reveal this, and watch as the Eldritch player cry with just 3 set Eldritch traps, which you can deal with in your own time with things like Thunderbird and Hextrude. Basically, really nice card. Also, Cherries target. Other Cherries targets we were running, guys. Obviously, it is Utopic Zexal format, so we are going to reveal that Utopic Zexal and watch them laugh. Final time to this. Let them resolve their field spell, let them summon 3. On the summon of 3, you go Winter Cherries, discard this, probably banish 1 or 3 copies if they're playing Extravagance from their extra deck. In the end phase, all their XYZs disappear because they get sent to grave or banished. I don't really know which is just yet, but it clears their own board, which is what we want to hear when we're swinging for 8k or 9k exact game, etc. Really nice. One Sunlight Wolf. I can't really see a way of Salamangreat Great playing without Sunlight Wolf, so this is just there. Salamangreat Great are still a deck, so we do kind of just want to pop this in just because it will be an auto win almost if we Cherries this against them. I can't really see anything going with that. And then finally, one VFD just for those Dino players or the Mermail players who do want to tab this out, because this can ruin our day because obviously we want to play cards. So yeah, Cherries one of these 2 if you want to play, otherwise enjoy being locked out of your monsters for the turn. Rank 8's one Dragublon. This basically just like blew out rank 8's for me because this only came out. This came out after my YCS and my regionals showing of this deck, so this is actually kind of new for me. I love this card. Basically, it can't be targeted what as can't be targeted what as material, which is obviously just really nice because it's a 3k beta. The other effect is you can detach 1, summon 2 number dragon type monsters XYZs from your extra deck and or grave. 1 gets overlaid on the top, so basically just cheats out any number XYZ monster you want that is a dragon type. They have to be obviously 2. So the targets we have for this: 1 Hope Harbinger, again because it's a rank 8, this is a really nice effect, and 1 Numeron Dragon. We'll just talk about the Hope Harbinger real quick. It is basically a rank 8 that negates spells, which is really nice. Numeron Dragon, you use the effect of Dragulon, slap on top of the Hope Harbinger. You can detach 1. And then it gains attack equal to the number of ranks on the board times 1,000. So when you do this, at least it'll be 8 ranks plus 1 rank, which is 9k. So this is just make 2 level 8s, summon a 9k monster. That's game. While you resolve this effect, though, this is the only thing that can attack, which is kind of annoying. So if they get rid of this, you basically miss out on your 80k. So I'd try and keep the Gren Majus in hand if I'm going for this route, just because it's a really simple thing. Bear in mind, guys, this can't get effect valid or imperm, so they have to effect valid or imperm this if they have that. But it's kind of nice. You can just still punch them with 3k boy if you think they're gonna go that route. If this card is destroyed by card effect, you can destroy all special summon cards on the board. And then if you have no monsters, you can summon it back from your grave. So it's kind of like a blocker, but also kind of like a board wipe. It's kind of nice. It's pretty much just an OTK again with 2 level 8s. 1 Sanathon. This used to be an instant win con going first because you just pop it in against like the Norcos player or a Lunalight player. Not so good now. It can kind of stop maybe the Synchro players from Eldritch, and maybe a Block Dragon. Against Salamangreat Great, like I said again, it is great. Unfortunately now though, Orcust isn't really so relative anymore, so it doesn't really work against them. Finally, this is meant to be a Dingisu, but I have a Ningisu just because my Dingisu hasn't arrived yet. I did used to have one when I played this deck, but it's just gone missing. I think I sold it or traded it while we were in lockdown. So it's not too much of a problem, but here you want to play Dingisu, which is basically your auto go-to against Salamangreat Great, because if your opponent would pop your cards, you can just basically detach 1 from Dingisu. That includes things like the Roar, which would negate a card. So it protects against the Raw and the Rage, and also on summon Descendants card, which is really key, nice removal, guys. So if you're worried about your Gren Maju being popped by Raw or by Rage, just throw down a Dingisu and laugh. Also good against Eldritch with their Conquistador. Now, moving on to our side deck. Side deck, as I always say, guys, completely up to you. These are just my suggestions for a side. 3, Lava Golem. It is a level 8, so again, it works with trading. Clear 2 of their monsters, so even if they just end on 2 monsters, it's really nice. It does take up your normal summon, which is kind of annoying, so you can't play, obviously, Gren Maju at the same time. However, it's just a really nice card. Just basically clear 2 monsters. So clear, you usually want to clear like the Savage and maybe an IP, because the IP is the biggest threat to Gren Maju, because Gren Maju has no activate effects that are being negated. Then as such, you want to stop things like Unicorn spinning it away. For back row decks, 3 Denko Seka. You drop this on Ultigeist and they cry, which is the best feeling ever, because screw those Ultigeist players, he says he has a core in his binder. Yeah, guys, it's Denko Seka. You can't really go wrong. You drop it against a set back row deck and they cry because maybe it's Eldritch or Ultigeist, but it's really nice. This plus like Dangers and Neuron Dragon is pretty much auto win. 3 Gamma, 1 Driver. This changed a little bit. This actually used to be Mystic Mine, just because I dropped Mystic Mine on something like an Eldritch player or a Adamantipator. Once I baited all them gates, just to basically stop them and deck them out basically for the game, which was something that worked. However, with the Zexal format, I'd rather play this, because this is just something we pop in if we have to go second a bit more against Zexal. Because even though we are playing 9 hand traps, there will be those times when you don't open any hand traps and you basically can't play the game, and no one wants to be stuck in that scenario. So we are just going to pop in some gammas. I would take out things like the Stromberg field spell, maybe through the trade-ins, things like this, just to pop this in and basically stop our opponent from locking us out of anything. Can also be really good against rocks again, so I can't really see the problem with not. We're not maining it, because otherwise we would just open a hand of hand traps. We wouldn't open any turbo cards basically to facilitate an OTK. But yeah, those are inside. 2 Twin, 2 Cyclone, 1 Reboot. The low rarities just because all my high rarity stuff is still in my BA deck. We're playing an OTK deck, so I don't really mind paying 9k for the red Reboot, just because again it does instantly stop the Ultigeist player and instantly stop any Eldritch player who are playing a back row heavy list. The amount of times I've dropped this on Ultigeist on DB and they've just instantly scooped with this deck is really nice. Twin Twisters, also really nice because it triggers your dangers, so it can trigger Thunderbird to pop another set card, so you're effectively blowing them out for 3 back row. Triggers the Bigfoot, obviously, to pop a face-up card. So it's could be quite funny where you go like Twin Twisters, pop your back row. Okay, now Thunderbird's going to pop your Herald or something like this. Because again, guys, don't forget dangers do trigger from being banished. And then obviously, finally, Cyclone is just there to basically spot removal, but a bit more permanent against those Eldritch traps. Anyway, guys, this is my Gren Maju rank 8 Turbo OTK build. It is either win in your first 2 turns or not, but that makes it very fun. You're almost like playing it against a clock. It can just take the meta completely by surprise. The amount of times I've actually tested on Drawing Book, and it does work. And the only problem with this deck, guys, and the reason it fell out of favour, I feel, is because it doesn't really have a solid turn 1 play. It used to be just make Sanafond, which obviously then locked out Salaman Great. It locked out the Orcus, which were making up the top parts of the meta back in the YCS format. Unfortunately, now that is not such a strong play. So my turn 1 play is either the Sanafond if I know they're playing a graveyard deck, or maybe Appaloosa. Maybe a Trisbania with a Gizmek and Grave if I know they're playing a back row deck, or just to try and rely on my hand traps. There's not a lot of decks that can OTK you if they don't go the access code talker route. So if you do have an access code talker, you can obviously shove that into the extra deck just to be your cherries target as well. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe as always. We're growing as a channel, which is awesome to see, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.